Hey guys, welcome to me. I'm here with an exciting new update. Over the weekend, I got a few new things for my computer, and I'm also here to tell you a bit of a story that went along with it because it was a very long process and a bit of an exciting one. Because, I'm a nerd, so upgrading my computer is always pretty exciting. So, I spent a pretty good amount of money. I'm not going to really go into details how much because, I don't want to go too overboard on it. And now, I'm not one of those people who upgrades their computer like every year or so. I wait for the next big thing to come out typically. So, usually I wait till something becomes obsolete to a point where I can't really play my games that efficiently anymore. And so I usually wait around 4 years before I actually go and upgrade my computer. So I've had all these parts of my computer for about 4 years now. And aside from my graphics card, I felt like I needed to make some upgrades because my graphics card actually got a new one about a year ago. So that was pretty good because it was one of the more top-of-the-line ones at the time. So yeah, I'm going to stop rambling on about that and tell you about my weekend. So this upgrade is the upgrade that typically costs the most, which was my decision to upgrade my motherboard. And if you know something about internal computer parts, then you might also know if I get a new motherboard, well, if my CPU is not compatible with my motherboard, I have to buy a new CPU. And CPUs are not the cheapest thing in a computer either. And since I was upgrading from 4 years ago, I was still running DDR3 RAM, which is now essentially obsolete compared to DDR4 RAM. DDR3 still does you some good, but, at this time, DDR4 is a lot better, a lot faster. And so, I had to upgrade my RAM as well, and the RAM only cost me around $150, which wasn't too bad because I got a pretty good amount. And it was about double the speed of my old RAM and almost double the amount, so I was pretty happy. However, guys, if you're watching any of my videos, you tend to know that it'll get a little bit random as everything will not go completely to plan. So originally I had actually not even planned to go to microcenter this week. I had class on Friday, or at least I thought I was going to have class on Friday. I found out that class actually doesn't start for another week starting now, so yeah, I still actually don't have class this week either, so I'll probably end up streaming on Friday or something. But yeah, I'd actually not planned to go to Micro Center. Just when I got home, I played some CSGO to have a little bit of fun. And then my dad came in and was like, hey, I want to go to Micro Center and look at computer parts because I had to replace my power supply more recently. And when I was replacing my power supply, I talked to him about wanting to upgrade my computer because a lot of my stuff was pretty old. And so he said, want to go to Micro Center? I said, sure. Sounds like a great idea because I need to look at new computer parts anyways. And, I knew this was going to be a fairly lengthy trip. And also, I didn't really have anything else planned for today, so it was perfect. So I just finished up my game and got ready to go. So as I said before, though, I'd actually not even planned to go to Micro Center. So I was going to spend a lot of time actually looking at stuff and comparing what I want to actually get in the end. Because I didn't really look at prices or any of the specs. I kind of went in blind because I didn't plan to go. And also, it's going to take us a while to get there, too, because Micro Center is about half an hour away from where I live. So it's going to be like half-hour drive there, half-an-hour drive back. But by the time we actually do leave, it's going to be rush hour. So it takes a lot longer than half an hour to get back. And, that wasn't going to be fun. But it was all worth it in the end to go and shop for new parts for my computer. And also, I don't know when a better day was going to be. After, the half-an-hour drive, we ended up arriving at Micro Center, and the first thing that we did was head to the back and decide to choose a motherboard. Now, I'd been running a Sabertooth motherboard for a few years, and I really enjoyed it. I really like Sabertooth. It was a really good motherboard, at least the one I was using back in the day was pretty much top of the line. But, now, like I said before, it's been a few years, so it's become obsolete, and I was also running a 2.6 gigahertz i7 processor, which, if like I said before, if you know anything about computers, you know how slow that is nowadays. And this was also, I forget what series I was part of, but 2.6 gigahertz is not that fast. And that just wasn't cutting anymore. So, yeah, I was old, and I decided to look at the X99 series motherboards because these are the ones that are using LGA 2011 CPUs, which is the CPU I ended up getting. But back to the motherboard. Sorry, I kind of forgot where I was. So for a while I was debating between the MSI, the Asus, and the Gigabyte. But in the end, I went with the much pricier Gigabyte motherboard, which was the Gigabyte Designware EX, because they had a refurbished one, which was about $100 below market, which was actually pretty good, because, I mean, this one looked like brand new. It looked like, you know what, the person used it for probably about a month tops, and just refurbished it, and then just gave it back to microcenter. And so it's in pretty good condition. It was actually quite a deal, because I just liked all the specs. You know, I had so many sockets for RAM cards. I mean, I could stick about 8 RAM cards in this thing and it'd run perfectly fine. And also fit the LGA 2011 series, which is what I was going for. And after picking out the motherboard, the rest wasn't as hard, because I got the motherboard, so now I know what CPU I'm going to get, and now I also know what kind of RAM I'm going to get. As mentioned before, the CPU I ended up going with is, of course, an LGA 2011 at about 3.3 gigahertz, and I mean, I could have gone for the 3.6, but I didn't feel like $100 was worth, you know, 0.3 gigahertz of speed, because the 3.3 of the 2011 series is already really fast, and I already splurged on getting a really top-of-the-line motherboard, so I figured, you know what, I'm good to just go for the 3.3 and save $100. And after, you know, choosing out the motherboard, looked at RAM, and ended up getting 4 sticks of 8 gigabyte RAM. Yeah, you know, 4 and 8. Sorry, I'm just like trying to do the math here. It's 32 gigabytes in the end. I knew the math, sorry, I don't know why I said math. I was just trying to learn English again. But anyways, ended up going with a total of 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, and the speed of the RAM was 3200 megahertz. I mean, I could have gone for 3300 megahertz, but kind of like the whole situation with the CPU, I didn't feel like spending an extra like $50 or so to go for the 100 megahertz faster. I mean, that's even less of a gap between those two. After figuring all that out, it was time to look at some other stuff, because I mean, I had already spent a good amount, you know, getting a new motherboard, a new CPU, and a new, you know, new RAM, but still, there's a few things I needed to upgrade, one being my hard drive, because I've been running a 1 terabyte WD Green, which was essentially out of space, and also WD Green is not really much of a good gaming, gaming hard drive, but the WD Blacks were, so I picked up a 2 terabyte WD Black. I was being between the 2 gigabyte and the 4 gigabyte for a while, but like I said before, I already spent a lot so far, so I just wanted to go to the 2 terabyte WD Black. Another thing I actually needed to get, though, was a new liquid cooler, because if you guys probably know, like I said before, all my parts are about 4 years old, so this was around the time when the 2011 series wasn't even out, so I couldn't. But my current liquid cooler would not support the chip size for the new chips, so I had to pick up a new liquid cooler. That way I could actually liquid cool my motherboard. And now, if you guys have always been, you know, very on the edge about liquid cooling and don't think it's a good idea, guys, it's actually really safe if, you know, you do the factory one. I mean, if you build your own loop, you have a little bit more risk, but if you actually get, you know, like when I got a Corsair i80 or something, and I mean, it looks pretty good, and my old one I've been running with 4 years for no problem, no leakage, worked perfectly fine. So yeah, so I had to get that new liquid cooler for my CPU, and that got me out like $100, but in the end it is all worth it, because this is gonna keep my system fairly cool. So essentially, I finished shopping for my PC parts. I mean, that's already a lot of money, and so instead of looking at more computer parts, we're actually looking at routers after that, because a recent lightning storm had knocked out most of our switch ports, and so we decided to look at their switches, because honestly, microcenter will either have really good deals on those, or they'll do price match of Amazon or Best Buy, whatever, you know, sells cheaper. So if, you know, we didn't feel like the deal was good, they'd just say, okay, we'll price match it, give us a lower deal, and just get it from there. And we didn't really spend much time looking at it, because we're already pretty tired of, you know, me trying to figure out exactly what I wanted, because figuring out that whole motherboard situation took a long time. And my dad also wanted to go talk and bump down the price of my motherboard even more because, you know, he's a tough negotiator and he's really good at negotiating as well. So I'm like, okay, if he's going to be able to negotiate that price down more, then I'm happy with that. So after negotiating another $20 down from my motherboard, like I said before, very tough negotiator, the rest of the stuff went fairly smoothly, or at least for the most part we thought it went really smoothly. And we left the store, got all of our bags in the car after paying. Then had gone on the freeway, and this was the start of rush hour, so it wasn't the worst, but it's still going to be pretty bad. However, about, I think 5 minutes down the road, my dad's like, wait, did we ever get the CPU? And so we pulled over and decided to look in our bags, and we had not gotten the CPU. And now this is a big problem because without the CPU, literally all the parts we just bought are essentially useless. So we turned around, went back to the store, and yeah, it took us a while. So after getting back to the store, we went back to the associate who we talked to before and got another printout. And while my dad was talking to him about that, I decided to go back and look at cases because my case had been also fairly old because, like, essentially everything in my computer, like I said before, was about 4 years old. And now after looking at cases a bit, I decided on, you know what, I'm going to get a new case because if I'm already upgrading all this stuff on my computer anyways, we're already going to have to take out most of the stuff in my computer, so why not just get a new case to put it in and just leave the stuff that I don't need to take out, which was my old motherboard, old processor, old RAM. I don't need to take those, I just need to leave in that computer because honestly I have friends over and I have a few computers set up, so if I'm replacing almost everything already, it makes sense to just leave it all in there and get a new case and put everything, just take out, you know, the graphics card, and that was essentially all we needed to take out. And so picked up a new case for about $80 and got back on the road. Took a little bit of time because now we're in full-blown rush hour because it was Friday and he had plans. I had to drop them off, and then I decided to get back home, play some CSGO, and wait to upgrade my computer. So I just played a couple games. After he finally got home, I know I said finally as if he was gone for 10 years. No, he was gone for a few hours. I managed to get like 2 or 3 CSGO games in. We started putting all the parts of my computer together, which essentially is like building a whole new PC, because like I said before, I essentially replaced almost every part. And it was really time consuming. However, during it, we did run into a lot of problems, the first being when we attempted to use cloning software to clone the drives. Now, if you don't really know what cloning a drive is, it's essentially taking all the information from one drive and transporting it to the other, like with operating system and everything still intact, because, you know, I'd upgrade through Windows 10 through that free upgrade period, and Windows 7, at least the edition I had of Windows 7, did not support anything higher than about 16 gigabytes of RAM or something, so I had gotten 32 gigabytes of RAM, and if I wanted to, we had to reset it to like Windows 7, I was not going to get anything out of those 32 gigabytes of RAM. I'd be better off just like dual channeling it with 2 sticks of 8 because there's no way I was going to go any higher. And so the problem that we ran with the cloning the drives though is the fact that the program was not working. Like, we couldn't figure out what the problem was. We had done everything like it had said, and whenever it actually just started cloning, it would literally just turn off randomly and be like, okay, we ran into a problem and we're just not going to do what you said we were going to do. And it got really annoying because, you know, we spent like 2 hours trying to do this, and in the end we gave up, decided to just say, you know what, we'll take we'll just use the WD green for my startup drive, transfer a whole bunch of stuff over, that way we free up some space on the WD green, because one of the reasons why my CPU was running really slow was the fact that had actually had very little space left. I mean, I was running at like 50 gigabytes open, and on a drive you want to leave at least 10% open, so I needed to leave 100 gigabytes open, which, you know, not leaving that much open was, I had to get new. I had to loosen up some space, so the only thing that was going to be sad was it was going to boot as fast, and of course there was going to be a little bit of bottlenecking issues, but in the long run it didn't seem like it was worth the time and hassle to just get another copy of Windows 10 or try to clone the drive by going to another place, because that's just expensive to do. And our second problem wasn't that bad. It was when we were putting everything back together, like the case. Apparently, they'd been not made that correctly, or some weird, thing, because we tried to put it on, it wasn't really fitting right. And it wasn't, cords were in the way or anything. It was just the case, I think it was just poorly made. So my dad just bangs it a few times and bends it back into the shape, ironically enough. Hitting your computer helps, apparently. But yeah, it didn't take us too long, and that was pretty fast. And our last problem was seemingly insolvable, so after we got everything together, we tried to figure out why the computer kept shutting down, because it was around 2 a.m. and we were really tired, and this had happened a few times, so we couldn't figure out what the problem was. Eventually found out that it was actually the liquid cooler. What happened was, see, when we were putting the liquid cooler in earlier, I'd actually handed the wrong screws, because I kind of, like the picture just showed two different screws, looking identical in every way. And so I just handed him whatever screw looked like it was the one that fit the picture more, because the one we were supposed to use looked like the bigger screws. So I handed him bigger screws. Apparently it was the smaller screws, and so the liquid cooler was not actually even touching the CPU, and the CPU just kept shutting down, because it's like, okay, I want to make sure there's no problem with the computer. So, it's pretty smart technology to actually shut down like that. And it's actually good that nothing got ruined. Also, not saving the best for last, but just another thing to add to this whole big story was the big update. I got a new mic, which, as you can probably tell, because my voice probably sounds a little bit more clear. This was a decision I'd been debating on for a while, and after a while I decided, I'm already getting so many upgrades anyway, so I decided to splurge on Blue Yeti. And it ironically arrived the same day I went to microcenter to upgrade my computer, so those two things had just so happened to coincide with each other, which was pretty good and pretty funny. And I definitely like this 10 times better than the mic I was running before, because, I was using one of those headset mics, the Logitech G430 or whatever. I don't even know what it is anymore. I'm just giving a random guess to what it was, and I had a few problems with it, and, I'm just happy to have this new standing mic, and I just like it a lot better. It looks a lot nicer, too. Anyways, guys, this is where I'm going to end the video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this, subscribe for more stories and more content. This is Risen Demon Gaming. I hope to see you guys next time. Bye.